guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wayne Gaming. It's something on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Lyre. Alright, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alright. No, I can't. There's some scabbing, and I don't want to mess with it too much. I'm just going to clean the surface. He continues to lightly massage my back with the rag, working his way down. Once he finishes, he uses the dry part of it to dry the area. I'm honestly amazed at how fast these have healed. I knew humans had this unique ability, but I didn't realize it was so strong. He begins to unravel some of the bandages and starts wrapping them around my lower torso. It's not really something I notice. It's always been this way. His strong paws weave around my body, swathing me in the stretched cloth. Each time he touches me, the sensation manages to stay for a moment. This should keep everything nice and safe. Before he finishes, he rubs his thumb near the area where the branding scar is. Damn you, Adrius. He ties off the bandages and claps his paws together, brushing the palms. All set. I turn around and pick up my shirt, sliding it back on and pulling my hair out from inside the collar. Thank you. It's no problem at all. Actually, would you mind helping me with something? Not at all. Could you help me out of this armor? I need to start preparing the turkey. He nods his head in the direction of the dead bird, the feathers of the bird's fan blowing in the gentle breeze. Sure. Can you not get it off on your own? He begins to unlatch the leather straps on the breastplate. Oh, believe me, I can. It just takes forever. Walking over to one of the rocks, he sits down on it and continues undressing. I stand up successfully and walk over to him as he fiddles with the straps of his gauntlet. My legs feel a bit unsteady, but I manage just fine. Here. I take his arm and pull the straps away, slipping the gauntlet off of his paw. Thank you. That's always the hardest part. Once the gauntlet's off, I remove his pauldron and the chainmail padding on his other shoulder. Those are a bit more tricky, but once off, he rolls his shoulders and sighs. Why do you put all this on anyway? Just to go and hunt a turkey? You forget we're wanted criminals. I unlatch his cape from the leather clasp and bundle it up, setting it down on the rock next to us. I don't want to be caught unarmed and unarmored. Right. Now onto the breastplate. He's already undone a few of the buckles, so I just undo the back. Some of the parts on the back weren't even latched. There's no way Lyall would be able to reach back there, so I don't bring it up. I take each component away one at a time and set them neatly off to the side. By the end of it, Lyall's left in just a pair of trousers. I fold up a colorful red tartan and place it neatly on top of the cape. Lyall throws on a shirt from the rucksack, pulling it over his head and pushing his neck fur out through the neck hole. It falls down around his shoulders, chest, and back in large tufts. That feels much better. Thank you. I nod my head, and before I can think of what to do next, he dives into one of the drawstring bags. Do you want to feed Finley? Oh, sure. I've got some carrots here for him. He carried the both of us for a whole day, so I think it's time the two of you were properly acquainted. He tosses me a carrot, and I barely catch it, fumbling it in my hands. Just go on up to him and hold it out near his mouth. He won't bite. Lyall picks up the turkey and brings it over to a large rock further away from camp, a large knife in hand. He lays a leather tarp on the rock and begins plucking the feathers away from the body, and it's at this point that I realize I'd rather not watch. I take a few slow steps towards Finley, but he barely acknowledges my presence. Once I get close enough to touch him, I reach out and run my hand along his dark coat of fur. His ears turn back, a sign that he's noticed me, and I gently continue to brush him with my hand. I walk up to where his head is and hold out the carrot. He doesn't seem interested in it. I place my hand on his nose and rub in steady motions. Suddenly, he lifts his head and nips at my fingers. I pull away and call out in the direction of Lyall, my eyes still trained on Finley. He tried to bite me, I think. Don't worry, he's just nervous. He needs a little reassurance. He won't actually bite you. I take his word to heart and hold out my hand again, this time petting up near the bridge of his nose. Finley closes his eyes and snorts, which makes me laugh. He seems to be leaning into my hand at this point. I hold out the carrot again, and Finley takes it in his mouth. With each bit, I help push a bit into his mouth. He chews it up, and soon it's gone. He's very pleasant. I'm glad you're getting along with him. He tends to like everyone. I can now hear Lyall chopping the turkey up into different sections. I can also smell it. Fresh meat. Poor guy was under strict guard in the stables. I'm certain he grew to detest whoever had to guard him. I'm hoping he bit them, at least. I'd pay to see Adrius get bit by him. Yeah. I look back at Finley, his eyes black like ink and shining bright. He's such a gentle creature. Tygren helped make him. They also created that turkey. And Lyall. It's funny, someone like the headsman is a horseman and Finley is a horse. Even though the similarities are there, I rarely ever notice them. It's just natural to me, I suppose. There's plenty of differences, but the likeness raises plenty of questions. I'll have to ask Tygren sometime. I'll have to tell Lyall about Tygren as well. Perhaps while we eat. Lyall tosses some of the turkey's bits into a worn-out bag and then places the meat and other parts that need to be cooked onto a small board. After he sets the board by the campfire, he takes a small tarp with the rest of the meat and ties it up like a bag. At night, I'll hang this in one of the trees so nothing can get to it. Good idea. He takes the pail of water near the fire and begins to wash the pieces of meat off one by one. After all of them are cleaned off, he places them into the pot of boiling water. Ooh, that's beautiful. After a long time of waiting with a rumbling stomach, the food's just about ready. It's already dark out, and as I look around, I notice that all the flowers have begun to glow a soft pink color. It takes my mind off the food. Wow. Yeah. I picked a pretty great spot, huh? I try to stifle my chuckle, but it's no use as I watch the grin spread across his face. It's enchanting! He continues to stir the pot, and he picks one of the flowers, gently pinching it between his claws. The glow still remains. Most of the flora in this region can do this. Helps keep them warm during the winter. It's incredible. You should see the golden timber this time of year. The leaves on the trees glow a bright sunshine yellow, casting a soft light over the entire forest. I'd never seen something like this before. He takes the pot off of the prop sticks and pours the contents into 2 wooden bowls. I can smell the broth all the way from where I sit. It has a savory smell which makes my stomach impatient. I'm sure the flowers of your kingdom are just as exceptional. Not really. We laugh at that, and he stands, bringing me a bowl of stew. Large chunks of boiled turkey float in the center, surrounded by chopped carrots and topped with enough spices to make my mouth water. Along with this, he pulls a large pink fruit out from behind his back. A dragon apricot. Enjoy your meal, my lord. He says this with a certain cadence to his voice. Sounds a bit like Gerhard. I don't like it. Thank you, my knight. He sits down across from me, his fur shining in the light of the fire. I tip the bowl to my mouth, and the second my tongue touches the broth, I'm in heaven. God! This is amazing! It's okay. I could've... Shut up! This is the first real food I've had in what feels like forever. I'd forgotten what meat that wasn't meat for pigs tasted like. You do not get to sit there and say this dish is mediocre. He crosses his arms and smirks, shaking his head. Never thought I'd make a better chef than a swordsman. You can be good at more than one thing. You clearly know your way around both the sword and a paintbrush. You clearly know your way around both the sword and a paintbrush. Fair. He pours a bit of water into the empty pot and rolls it around the inside before tossing the slurry into the bushes. I continue eating, tipping the entire bowl up and practically pouring it into my mouth. Then I take a bite of the fruit, the juice practically pouring into my mouth. It's as sweet as I remember it being. It's almost funny. He's the wolf and he's eating so slow and in such a polite manner, compared to me sitting here scarfing down my food like a ravenous animal. I have to wonder if his species of wolf are also as courteous while eating, specifically the feral ones. Once I finish what's in my bowl, I'm reminded of what I wanted to tell Lyall over supper. I set the bowl down and clasp my hands together. Lyall? He looks up, some stew coating his upper lip. He quickly licks it away. Yes, Luvun? I need to tell you something, but you have to promise me you won't freak out. What happened? It's nothing bad. Just hear me out, okay? He crosses his arms and sets his bowl down. Okay. Confessing it feels like jumping off a cliff into the ocean. Once I take that initial leap, the words just come spilling from my mouth. And so, I tell him everything. I start with the fact that I'm the mortal avatar of Tygren. I tell him about Tygren reaching out to me in the mind's eye after Rainer's murder, the dreams I would have, the headaches, the retrocognitive visions. I tell him about how the entire time I was in the dungeon I had to push myself to my very limits. I even tell him about the few of the visions I've been able to glean from the mind's eye. He's silent throughout my entire explanation, but I can tell he's listening. When I finish, he leans back in his seat, hands behind his head. So, Leif was onto something that day. So you believe me? He sighs and gestures north with his thumb. When you were in the dungeons, Leif summoned me to his study. He went on and on about stuff like this. He was saying you had the power of a god behind you and other things along those lines. He said it was possible you were one of the greatest emissaries or something. You were one of the great emissaries or something. I questioned it at first, thinking he was just on another one of his grand breakthroughs. But that night I got to thinking and realized everything was adding up. That dream you had where you were Raynor. It just seemed a bit too coincidental. He leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Not only that, but if you managed to convince Leif, who's typically a man of reason, then maybe it was true. I don't know. All I knew is that something was going on. I can prove it to you. He raises an eyebrow at that. How? It was a few days before you would leave for Driz. You were about 13 years old. You and Adrius were in the gardens, and you promised him that the journey to Driz would be fine. When the Queen came to tell you the news you had been waiting for, you were so excited. To be able to train under your hero, it was a dream come true. You were well on your way to becoming a knight. Lyall looks a bit shocked, but composes himself. That was certainly creepy. The past few months of mental torture have chipped away at my disposition, so I apologize if that was a little uncalled for. Lyall shrugs. I'll get used to it. But yeah, I suppose I believe you. Good, because I don't think I could deal with you not believing me while also being bombarded by all this. If it makes you feel any better, you're the only one I've told. Oh, trust me, I'm not mad at all. I'm mainly concerned. About what? About you. It must have been terrifying for you to go through all that. I sit down on the grass, using the rock I was previously sitting on as a prop for my back. Believe me, it was. Some of the scariest moments of my life have happened in those visions. But it's something I've come to appreciate in the end. Who knows where I'd be without his blessing? Lyall stands up, picking up our bowls off the ground and pouring some of the water from the pail into them to wash them out. It kept me going. Among other things. I say this while gesturing to him, which he smiles about with a slight nod. So you can just have these visions whenever? Most of the time. Right now, I feel like if I tried to see anything, I'd throw up. Also, if the event was more recent, it's harder to see. Like looking through blurry glass or a distorted reflection. He sits down in front of the fire, staring into it with unfocused eyes. Is that why you were so sure Adrius murdered Raynor? At the end of the trial. And not, he bites his lip nervously. And you can feel these visions, as if you're actually there. In every way. He winces at that. God. So, you experienced death. In a way. I also saw the whole thing from Adrius' point of view. It was horrific, feeling what it was like to kill someone. I hated every second of it. Yeah. So... Oh, one other thing. Tygren gave me an order to travel to Driz. Why would you need to go to Driz? I need to go to the Temple of Hieta. They said it's south of the Drizian Canyons. It's where I'm supposed to finish my training. Lyall stares into the fire and then looks up at me, his eyes like black mirrors. Is this what you want? Do you really want to be this emissary? The words came out with a bit of trepidation. Do you even have a choice? I realized that I had never actually asked myself this question. I can't stay in Lyre, whatever. I can't go back to Erin after what's happened. Even if I did, I'm not sure what I would do. This feels like the only path I can take. It's the path I'm supposed to take. There's nothing for me back in Erin. I can't stay in Lyre either. My only option is to go to Driz and figure everything out. Lyall continues to stare into the fire, his ears back and his tail limp. He's as still as a statue. Then he breaks the silence, looking up at me with a determined gaze. I'll come with you. Hearing him say this takes a weight off my chest that I didn't even know was there. Thank you. I know that you feel like you have a certain duty to fulfill with me. But I need to know something. What is it? If you didn't have any honorable obligations to be by my side, would you still stay with me? Forever. Alright, y'all. I'm going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Katie Silverman. Thank you for going above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to our gold tier patron, Trezum Guy. You're awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our not safe for more content as little as $5 already. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!